What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting their possibilities for you to consider, in which you can then come up with your own logical conclusions. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow decoders around the world, wherever you may be, my name is Logan, your tour guide, and this is Decode Your Reality, and today we're going to be breaking down and decoding RA88. This will be RA88 decoded. There's a very specific reason why the number 88 is after Ra. This is Ra's element. If you've been following and paying attention, the periodic table is where it's at. The Elohim, the elements, the connection there is so uncanny. So ladies and gentlemen, get strapped in, get settled in. I got quite a long presentation for all of you. I've been sitting on this one for a while. And originally I had it like this. This was the cover that I was going to use. But last minute with this song, it kind of got me in the voice in my head, comic book, and this is kind of what we ended up with, all those images, amazing artistry. So let's jump into this, ladies and gentlemen. RA88 decoded, the Egyptian sun god, why it was so revered, and how it is part of our reality. How is it still part of our reality? All the way back to ancient Egypt, right? So here are the topics, conversation for this presentation. Number 1, light of the world. Number 2, Ra in real life. Number 3, 144,000. Number 4, oh yeah, a little bit of lukewarm and spitting you out. And then number 5, peace and evil. Shalom and Ra. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the very first topic now. Light of the world. Light of the world, and we're going to start here with the Christ. You know, it's so interesting using original languages, right? Like, all of you should know now, following this research, that I'm a huge fan of Chaldean numerology, which goes all the way back to ancient Babylon, from the research that and just doing all the insights and the homework on it. And you could see how the number 88, when you say it out in Chaldean, equals 36. And 36 is tied to Jesus Christ, and we're going to get into that in a second. But what I wanted to point out is the original Greek. The original Greek of where Jesus says in the Bible, I am the light of the world. Well, this is it in Greek. And it's 226. And just like that, we have a connecting point to RA88. 226 is Ra's most abundant isotope. It's got a half-life of 1,600 years, which is why the Washington, D.C. and the White House is at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I'm going to talk about Washington, D.C., why Google, the headquarters of Google, is 1600 Amphitheater Way. This is the half-life of radium-226, 1,600 years. And there's those connecting points. But what about the Christ in the 88, right? Well, there it is, right? So you not only have it here where Jesus is saying, I'm the light of the world, but you have it here to confirm that, to support that the character Jesus is tied to the sun. Now, is he just the son? Was it a real dude? No idea. Wasn't there, and there's no one that can support that he was there other than the story. But it's written into the story, so it makes it true because it's in the story. Okay? So the light of the world, right? Let's get into more of the light of the world. When you say 88, Ra 88, you get the 19 and 18. And then you bring the tarot into this, and it's the sun and the moon. Sun being the 19th, moon being the 18th. And isn't it so fascinating that these two bodies, they make what's called the analemma shape. And there's the 88 right there. I mean, what are we to do with this? Are we just to dismiss this? The two big heavenly bodies. Remember, these heavenly bodies are all tied around religion, because religion and the Passover and Easter and Christmas, and this is all reverence to the celestials above, the sun and the moon. Right? The Old Testament, the Torah, based on a Hebrew calendar, which is primarily lunar, and then the Gregorian calendar is a solar, exclusively a solar calendar, and this is the New Testament. So you have the Old and the New. And these two heavenly bodies are revered in religion so much. And they're tied to Ra and the Jesus Christ character. Right? But what about the 37? Well, we're going to come back to the 37. But let's dig a little deeper, right? To give you more support here, is that the sun and the moon, when you say them, is a 14 and a 23. And when you say 14 and 23 in Chaldean, same cipher, you get 88. And again, this is the analemmas that these make, right? So there you go. And what's so fascinating, ladies and gentlemen, is that the element radium, okay? The element radium, here are the common isotopes, the main isotopes, I should say. And one of them is 224. It's interesting because we're in the year 2024. But 224, you can see that the half-life is 3.6 days. 3.6 days. And the 224 is tied to the 1423. 1423 is the 224th prime number, which is one of the isotopes, which has a half-life of 3.6 days. And what's the 1423? The sun and moon. 1423. 3.6 days. 3.6 days. 3.6 days. Light of the world. You see? So now you have the eyes to see. Now you have the eyes to see, ladies and gentlemen. So we get it here by saying 1423. And then we get it through mathematics, being the 224 prime number and being one of the isotopes of radium. See how big of a deal this is? A really big deal. Super big deal. Right? Super big deal. So we continue to go on, and you see that the sun and the moon are the bride and the groom. They match. The bride and the groom. Right? Now, they have, obviously, these could be mismatched, right? The bride, they have it as the sun, and they have the groom as the moon. We typically refer to the moon as feminine, and the masculine is the sun. In this case, it doesn't matter, because it's going to be either or. It's going to be a 55 as well. But the look at the uncanniness of these connections, just in Chaldean, folks. Crazy. And Chaldean works off of the numbers 1 through 8. Okay? That's why it's such a special cipher. And then even the word eye in the sky. Eye in the sky is 37. 37. Where's the 37? Right here. 88 is 37. 37. 88. So the eye in the sky tied to Jesus, tied to the Christ, right? Tied to Ra, tied to the light of the world, tied to the heavenly bodies. The 88. The bride and the groom. This is the Ark of the Covenant. Make no mistake about it, folks. This is the Ark of the Covenant. The sun and the moon, the sun at night, the bride and the groom. And then you get the soul below, human beings wanting to get married and matching up with the sun and the moon, the bride and the groom. And they become the eye in the sky, right? Looking at you. And there's so many other layers to branch off from there. But let's get into the next topic now, Ra in real life. Show you some real life stuff. How about this? Talking about the 37, right? How about the parents of Jesus, Joseph and Mary? That equals the number 37. So think about it. Joseph and Mary have a 37, which is tied to eye in the sky, which is the addition of 14 and 23, which is the addition of the sun and the moon. So is this just Joseph and Mary? And they have a son named Jesus. And the 37th card in the cards of illumination, the Jack of Diamonds, what do you got on there? What does Jesus' first name start with? The J. Now you get, this is the 10th letter. And the word man is 10 in Chaldean numerology. The word man is 10. And now you have Jack stuck in the box. I broke all this down. Jack stuck in the box. That would be you and me. If you're not a male, you're going to be Jill. And this is the cosmic joke. Jack stuck in the box. That's why you see a lot of movies and shows with Jack this and Jack that. You'll start paying attention. You'll see a lot of the Jacks, right? Even in the conversion of temperatures and the Cro-Magnon man, right? Supposedly the first fossil, among the first fossils to be recognized belonging to the Homo sapien. That's what we are, right? The Cro-Magnon man. That's a 37, which ties to the Jack in the box. And when you convert it from temperature, from Celsius to Fahrenheit, you get the average body temperature. 37. 98.6. These are averages, but these are humdingers. The conversions are insane with this. Goes all the way back to fossils, and this just shows that mankind just continually gets recycled and recycled and recycled and recycled. And we are part of this club right here. Homo sapien Club. All right, so how about some more Ra in real life? Well, how about this guy? Look at his name. Look at his last name. Cristofori. Right? He was from the Republic of Venice. Right? Italian musical maker, famous for inventing the piano. Notice his last name. Well, how many keys are on a piano? 88. Well, see, he was born on May 4th. Right? He was born on May 4th. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at on the calendar. I'm going to go to May 4th. And I'm going to compare it to day number 88 on the keys on the piano, which is March 29th. And look how many days in between his birthday and day 88. 37 days. 37 days. 37 days. 37 days. 37. 14 and 23 is 37. Are these just mere coincidences? I mean, seriously. The 124, that's tied to Zeus, by the way. The symbol of Zeus is the 1, 2, and 4, or the 241, or the 421. So you have to take Zeus into consideration here. Okay? You have to take Zeus into consideration here. How about the Georgia Guidestones? Talk about real life. Well, look at the days of when it opened and when it got dismantled. That bolt of lightning, right? Zeus. The bolt of lightning, supposedly. It came out on March 22nd, 322, or 122 if you go pre-Julian, and it got destroyed on July 6th. How many days and months in between? 3 months and 14 days. Well, when you add up the protons, neutrons, and electrons of Ra88, you get 314. 88 plus 226, 314. So another mere coincidence that Ra's tied to in a very big deal here. A very, very big deal. If you go and take the 314 and you look in the string of the 3.144 pi and you add all these digits up, you're going to get the number 64. And that's how many squares are on a chessboard. That's how many possible codons are on a DNA. If you watched my DNA Decoded, I showed how Ra was tied to our DNA. The 106. The 106 is the total numerology of the two base pairs of our DNA. And Ra's tied right to it. 106 days in between The opening day of the Georgia Guidestones and the dismantling of it, 106 days, which converts to 3 months and 14 days. 106 is our DNA, and Ra's tied right to our DNA, and the 314 and pi. How all these stuff possible? Well, you know my answer on that kind of stuff. How about some Back to the Future? How about Martin Seamus, the character Marty McFly, fictional character Back to the Future? Archangel Michael, right? He's got the 39 right there. The 39, the 39. What do you see right here for the weight of yttrium? The 88. 88 miles an hour to do what? Time travel. That's what we all are doing. We're moving through time. We're all time travelers. We're inside of a time machine, right? And the flux capacitor has the letter Y on it. I've covered this many times. There's the 88, and we can't leave out plutonium or radon. Radon being the 86th element, plutonium being the 94th element, what made this machine move. And there has so much to, our reality has so much to do with plutonium, it's not even funny. Plutonium means explosion. Explosion, think of a piston in your engine. What does the piston and the explosion do? Causes movement. Plutonium is what causes movement in this reality, but that's for a different story. But there's the Y. The Y is the 25th letter in the English alphabet, and it certainly looks like a snake's tongue, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It kind of does. And a lightning bolt looks like this as well when it comes down and it branches off. The flux capacitor, what made time travel possible. Well, now you have the eyes to see 88 miles an hour right there. Right? It's all tied to chemistry and the periodic table. It absolutely is. And let's get into the White House now. I told you we would, right? And the weight of radium, the most stable isotope is radium-226. Look at the half-life, meaning that half of it will dissipate in 1,600 years. Well, why do you think the address for the biggest military in the world, the biggest government in the world, is located at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? Well, now you know why, because it's tied to Ra. And it's tied to Lib-Ra. I'm going to show you the reason why that is. The Omega symbol. I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. Right? That's time, ladies and gentlemen. Time. And Lib-Ra, right there, the Ra. Right? The Lib-Ra. 1600 Amphitheater Way is the headquarters for Google. Huh. Another mere coincidence. But look at the White House. Okay, why Lib-Ra? Ra88. If you're somebody who has energy inside of the house of Lib-Ra, which is ruled by Venus, and Venus is all about procreation because the game needs players, right? But it's the scales of justice, and that triangle that sits over atop the White House kind of looks like the constellation of Lib-Ra. Of course it does. Absolutely. And when you look at the astrological map for the birthing of the White House, when they first moved in on November 1st, 1800, the sun. Now this is sidereal, the most accurate astrology chart you can look at. This is the true map of the stars. Tropical will not work here. The sun was in Lib-Ra. November 1st, 1800. I have it at 7:01 a.m. I don't know if that was the exact time, so the houses may change, but the zodiac signs will not. The sun was in Lib-Ra. And of course, what is the November 1st date? The 32nd card in the deck, called the Six of Diamonds. The Six of Diamonds converts into the Six of Pentacles. And what is this person holding here? The scales of Lib-Ra. Okay? So this card, tied to November 1st day, and if they moved in at 7 a.m., if that is accurate, well, then the first house, this is where that Six of Diamonds would be, and it's Lib-Ra. And there's so many other layers. You do have the eagle here, right? The eagle has landed, Scorpio. You have Venus there and Mercury. You got to know how to read these charts. They go very deep. You know, they go very, very deep, and all the other this is a mechanical system. Celestial mechanics, if you will. The moon right across from the sun. They moved in on a full moon, right? They moved in on a full moon right across the way. Mars there as well in Aries. I mean, there's so many significant layers to this, but this is a huge humdinger. And it should tell you how accurate sidereal is and how superior it is when reading astrological charts. That's nothing bad to say about tropical, but you're not going to get these calculations in tropical like this because it moves it 23 degrees forward and then it moves it out of the accurate positions of the stars. So let's get into the second topic now, or the third topic now, 144,000. You know this big word, the big number, biblical, the chosen ones? What happens when you take 144 and you divide it by 2? Simple math, right? You get 72. Well, where does that fit into all of this RA88? Well, consider, folks, again, if you add up the protons, neutrons, and electrons of radium-88, this comes from the word radius, which is a circle, okay? And when you add 88 and 226 in the trusty calculator, you get pi. So I'm going to go to the string of pi. I'm using the 3.144 string of pi. Big shout out to Jane Academy 108 for his great work on the pi sequence of 3.144. And this is 43 digits going into, and this is where you're going to locate the 88 for the first time. Is digit 42 and digit 43. And it's a total of 178. Now I'm going to come back to the 178, but what I want you to focus on is that total on that calculator. The 88 plus 226 is 314, which is pi, right? That is pi. Well, if I go to the golden ratio, the sequence of the golden ratio now, right? The two heavy hitters in our reality, the golden ratio and pi, and I take the 314, the total addition of RA88, well, 314 appears at digit 947. 947, 948, 949. But the 947 is going to occupy that digit 3, which forms the 314. And if you take the 947 and you move it into mathematics, look at what number it becomes through the prime, the golden frickin' ratio. So this has so much to do with this. So you can see how big of a deal this is. And how big of the deal these sequences are in mathematics and the decimal digits and all that stuff, right? And this 161, right? If you just add on a 0, 1061 becomes the 178th prime number. And then we just go back here to the total addition of where that 88 is found first in this string of the 3.14. You see how amazing that these mathematical equations are. Just insane calculations here. Go ahead, you can pause it if you need to stop so you can see how they're all connected here, okay? But let's get to this 178, right? The total addition of all 43 digits here of when that 88 is first found and located in the 314, since RA88 plus 226 is 314, and now you get this element through chemistry called hafnium. Remember, this is the 144,000 topic. What happens when you divide 144 by 2? You get 72. And there's that hafnium, to cut in half. It comes from the word hafnia, right? You have to go research that. Go all the way back to Denmark, Copenhagen, Denmark. Hafnia. And then you can clearly connect easily to the 72 names of the GD in the Torah. In Exodus, right? The uncanniness of this, if you know about this, the 72. And the 72 ties to this right here, the Shem. And the Shem is the 72, ends up tying to the 72 angels and demons. Now you have Shalom and Ra tied to this, right? Shalom and Ra are tied to the 72 names of the GD. It has to, because it's tied to hafnium with the 178 and these equations, right? So the 72 name is a big deal. It's a really, really big deal. And now you know what it's tied to, Ra, right? It's tied to Ra, folks. Hafnium, and the 72 names in the Torah now, and the God of the Israelites, well, it's tied to Ra. How could it not be? With these equations here. That's how big of a deal this whole Ra thing is. So when we do some calculations for this, right? When we do this, and I'm going to get into the 72 angels and demons, the Shalom and Ra, which is the eye of Ra, right? The Eye of Shalom Ra is what I've kind of named it. But when you do the numerology of the Shem, and you do it to the single digits, you can see that you get the 722, right? And what happens when you divide, most of you know, when you divide 22 by 7, you get pi. You get freaking pi. So what is this alluding to? The 72 names of God are tied to Ra and ancient Egypt. So the Torah is tied directly to Ra now. There is no doubt about it. And the 72 angels and demons are going to come in here. Absolutely. So I had this created. This came out badass. And I think this is kind of really what it looks like from an energetic standpoint. In the very middle at the top, you have the gatekeeper, if you will. If you want to call that God, you can call that God. But you have the neutral, the lukewarm neutrality, right? The judge, not partaking in the battle, overseeing the battle. The judge. You know, in a courtroom, I've said this many times before, in a courtroom, if you've ever been lucky enough to go into a courtroom, well, a good judge, a really good judge, does not judge based on its emotions. So once you get the emotions involved, someone can dupe you. A lady may cry, they're going to take away this, and they're just putting on a big act. And if the judge gets emotional, they end up giving the wrong verdict. So a good judge does not become involved with either side. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is lukewarm. That is neutrality. If you want to play the game, if you want to be hot or cold, you are now on the battlefield. And now you are polarized. This means you're polarized. This means you're not polarized. And that's a tall order. And I've gone over this so much, and I'm going to continue to go over it during this presentation, so we'll come back to that. So let's break this stuff down. Let me show you the craziness of this. Now, Ra is a 21, right? It's a 3. It's a 3 for sure. But it also has the 2 and the 1 there, considering how big of a deal this word is, right? It's going to be 36 in Hebrew. But you come down to the 72 angels and demons now. I'm splitting this in half. Now you have the 144,000. Okay? Now you have this, the battleground of our reality. Good cop, bad cop. Okay? And now you come down here and you look to the 21st angel and demon, these two, and look at the scripture. I mean, are you kidding me? It's freaking a permutation of pi. What do you think the odds would be that it would be a permutation of pi? And if I do come up here to the 3rd angel and demon section, right there, the 91, that's Lucifer. So this is maybe why Ra is considered evil in Hebrew. In the Torah, Ra is calamity. It's evil. And if this is what I think it is, and as I'm connecting this, well, then you have more keys to the kingdom, as they say. Right? But there you go. We're going to do some more of that. So, ladies and gentlemen, the 178 is the total for all 43 digits to where that 88 is found. 178 is the isotope of hafnium. And radium is what it's tied to. Okay? And radium comes from the word radius. Radius. And when you break it into the proper syllables, I used to do a lot of this in my decoding efforts. You have Ra, 3, D, 5, us, 9. 3, 5, 9. This is where this word came from. Radium comes from the word radius, which means circle. Okay? 359 is the big highlight. Well, what's 359 in mathematics? The freaking 72nd prime number. There it is. 72 angels and demons right there. Tied to that story. There's so many clues in this whole thing. It's insane. The scriptures, so now you know the biblical aspect. The Torah is tied to the angels and demons, that story. That's why it's so talked about in so many of these ancient cultures. From the Mayans to, you know, to the cosmology in Hinduism, Brahma and Shiva, the Vedas and the Devas. So what about the 43 digits? Got to go 43 digits to get to that 88. What's the 43? Look at the damn scripture. Another mere coincidence. Oh, wow, another 88. Huh, that's really coincidental. No, it's not coincidental, folks. This is source code energy here. Written into the code tightly now. Super tightly. Yeah, we have another one right here, for sure, at the 40th position. You got to know what the 40 means. But these are big humdingers here. Let's get into the next topic now. my glorious spit you out, right? Been talking about this. Got a big decode coming out on lukewarm. If you're watching this, and I've already come out with it, check out my lukewarm decoded. I got that coming out. Spit you out. Talked about so much spit you out. Some of you don't want to play anymore. How does it look? How does it look here? Well, I'm going to compare. I'm going to start with, and I'm going to show you how getting spit out of thy mouth, being lukewarm, means you're not polarized. And when you're not polarized, you're useless, in a sense. And useless, I mean that in a good way. And Isaiah 45:7 clearly has God being peace and evil. Shalom and Ra. Okay? Shalom and Ra. This is where this came from, is Hebrew, Aramaic. Shalom and Ra. And I'm going to show you how that's tied to Revelation 3 verses 16 of being lukewarm. Okay? Not being peace or evil, not being either one, being the middle, being the judge in the middle, not taking place, not being on the court. Right? So I'm going to compare the angels and demons again. Okay? I'm going to use the 45 verses 7. Remember, 457 is the 88th prime number. Just remember that. Okay? So now you know. And the 457, let's go to bracket 7. And you can see what scripture's here. 103 verses 8. That's 138. That's tied to 56 in the movie and the Phoenix. Okay? The Phoenix. I make peace and create evil. Well, the Phoenix is there. And then we go to 45, chapter 45, and now we have Psalms 94 verses 18. That is tied to plutonium. Okay? Another marker for destruction. Pluto, plutonium, Shiva. Okay? Shiva. So we have 45 and 7 from Isaiah 45 verses 7. And the two scriptures that are embedded in this. Now, we'll check out how crazy this is. Okay? Now, I want to direct your attention down here. When I first started coming out with this and the interpretation of what I'm being told on what it means is that you want to be lukewarm. Okay? And this is one of the versions that I was given. If you do the King James Version, the total numerology is 314. Okay? Which is the total addition of 88 and 226. So this is Revelation 3 verses 16, comparing it to Isaiah 45 verses 7. So the Shalom and Ra is a direct match to hot or cold. Okay? Peace or evil. Hot or cold. Okay? So if you're not peace or evil, if you're not Shalom or Ra, you're not hot or cold, you're going to be lukewarm. Well, folks, when you do the numerology of the two scriptures from here that are the biblical verses tied to the 7 and the 45 from the scripture itself, look at what the damn numerology is of it. I mean, seriously, it's a match to getting spit out of thy mouth. If you don't want to play anymore. Some of you don't. Some of you are tired, weary. You know how this game works. You've got to be polarized to be here. Right? Polarization is the way to play this game. Lukewarm, you become non-polarized. You become distilled water. Okay? Distilled water. And so I've covered this. This was on my Spit You Out preview. Here's the original screenshot of it. And even the 267 in the string of the golden ratio occupies digit 197 through 199. 197 being the 45th prime number. Pandora's box equals 45. 199 is the 46th prime number, and 46 is tied to Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ. That's what it's tied to, folks. You're playing the Christ game. You're playing the Jesus Christ superstar game. You don't want to play anymore? You got to be lukewarm. You can't be polarized. Even in Revelation 3 verses 15, Jesus is talking to the church of Laodicea, and he says Make a choice. You're either with me or you're not with me. You're either hot or cold. He wants him to choose. You're either an angel or demon. Pick your poison. Which one is it? But you're polarized when you pick a side. Right? Neither. So, going back to this radius, the raw DS 359. You know the 359 is the 72nd prime number? Well, when you do the original numerology of the scriptures that I did in English right here, now I'm going to go to the original Hebrew. Look at what number you get, folks. I mean, seriously, how much more evidence do you need of what I'm showing you here? The two scriptures that form Isaiah 45 verses 7 through the context of the 72 angels and demons from the 72 names of God. The Shem, 45 verses 7. Such uncanny connections. To me, absolutely undeniable, these markers. So if you don't want to be part of the circle anymore, you want to get spit out of pie, that's what this is. Well, you gotta be lukewarm. You gotta be non-polarized. Non-polarized. Okay? This is the King James version of it, which I just talked about. This is King James, the Protestant version of the Bible, the most popular Bible on the world stage, came out in 1611. The total numerology, 314. What's the total addition of 88226? 314. Okay, this is my birth card tied to the total numerology of Revelation 3 verses 16. Why? Because I'm supposed to be showing you this stuff. Tied to the tree of knowledge. This is the information that you need to see, need to hear. If you're here, you're hearing it, you're seeing it. Press pause if you need to, folks. Go back and study this stuff. This is in your face now. Now you have the eyes to see it. Even when you take the simple math now, simple math of Psalms 94:18 and Psalms 103:8 tied to Isaiah 45 verses 7 and the Shem and the 72 angels and demons, 103 verses 94 and 18. The chapters and the verses added together. The chapters is 103 and 94, and the verses is 18 and 8. And when you add it up, you get 197 and 26. What's 1 plus 9 plus 7? 8. What's 2 plus 6? 8. And there's the 88 again. How much more do you need to see, folks? See, I will spit you out of my mouth. Mouth rolls down to a number 8. The 8. The 8. The 8 is the Taurus field. The 26 is the prison. Prison equals 26. Planet equals 26. Yod-Heh-Vah-Heh equals 26. Now you know, folks, what it's all tied to. It's not a bad thing. It's just now you know how this game works. You can see it. It's Pandora's box. This is Pandora's box, ladies and gentlemen. Pandora's box being 45, 197 being the 45th prime number, 197 being tied to the element gold. What is Pandora's box? It's gold harvesting. It harvests through your blood. The RH factors in your blood. It's harvesting. That's where you get led to gold from. And that 197 is right here. Getting spit out of Pandora's box. Don't want to play anymore? Got to be lukewarm. Can't be polarized. All right, let's get into I think this is my last topic, peace and evil. I think this is my very last topic. Thanks for sticking with me, ladies and gentlemen. Big shout out to all my Patreon members. Thank you for all your support. You're incorporated into this decode. Appreciate each and every one of you. Peace and evil. So let's get into the biblical stuff. I've covered this. I've done a decode on this. This is the most updated information you're going to get on this now. And here's that combination of the 45 and 7 and it being the 88th prime number. And so now you know there is no doubt, there's no scratching and maybe, I don't know, I'm not so sure. Well, okay, here's peace and evil, here's shalom and ra in Hebrew where this Isaiah 45:7 was created from. Now, if you don't think the Torah has any merit and you think it's bunk and it's junk, well then it's futile. It's irrelevant in your life. But keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this stuff is written in the code. That's why you're seeing it. And I'm a decoder, breaking the code down. We see this in the world. You see chaos and order in this world. So it's got to have something to it. It's got to have something to it, ladies and gentlemen. So there it is. So now you know, peace and evil, 88. Right? Ra. So you have Ra doing both. Ra in Hebrew is right there. And that's calamity or evil. Resh, Ra. Remember what 36 was? Jesus Christ. Oh, I know, not that Jesus Christ, the other Jesus Christ. There must be multiple ones. Why do you think Jesus says, I'm not coming with peace, I'm coming with a sword? Yeah, I'm coming with a sword. Yeah, that's why. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're going to break this down. So this is what I originally started with, this decode. It moved into the RA88. It was peace and evil decoded. So I'm going to break this down. Here it is. Shalom and Ra, from where the original story came from. So if you talk about this story, yeah, God is duality, or the God of this world, the material world is duality. Well, the God of this world is the Torah. It says it right here, folks. So if you think that God of this world is Satan, well, this would be Satan for you then. And if you think something's above that, well, then something's above that. But I would love to hear your comments on that. I really would. But you can see shalom is peace. This is what you greet people with or leave people with. And you're Jewish. Shalom. It's a beautiful word. And then Ra. Evil, calamity, misery. Right? So make room. The beginning, the end. The end, the beginning. The beginning, the end. Doesn't matter. Both the same way. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, 36 and 52. And I'm going to introduce to you some new ways of decoding through the Hebrew. Some new ways of decoding through the Hebrew to get another extended layer on how this reality works. Some other markers. And I'm going to start with the shalom, the good, right? Now, shalom through the original Hebrew ends up becoming a 52, which does reduce down to the 7, and I'm going to talk about that, okay? Which is going to be Zayin, right? But 52, when you subtract, how many total letters in the Hebrew alphabet? 22. So you just come over here and you subtract the 22 until you get to 22 or below. And that's going to give you Het or Chet, the 8th letter. Okay? And then you do the same thing for Ra. 36 minus 22, 14. Okay, now you get Nun. So you get Chet and Nun. Right? You ready for this, folks? So here's Chet or Het. Okay, depends on how you pronounce it. You can see what it is. Now this represents shalom, good, right? It's a courtyard. Yeah, it's life. You even have the DNA here a little bit for the hieroglyphs. I mean, this is a courtyard. So the courtyard represents shalom, good, right? The court, to play on the court. Well, what's Nun? The snake, which represents Ra. What is on Ra's, headdress? When you look at it, snakes. This is why this is the eye of Shalom Ra. Peace and evil. The eye of God. Okay? For our reality anyway. So there you go, the 8 and the 14. Chet, courtyard, Nun, serpent. Check out my staff of Lucifer. I covered this in my staff of Lucifer. Okay? I covered that. And when you bring the 8 and 14 together and you put it into the string of the golden ratio, it occupies digit 258, 259, and 260. What happens when you add all those up? You get jackpot. You get the 777, which just happens to be the Eye of Providence. 777 is the 72. Eye of Providence is the 72. 72 angels and demons. Gives you the 144,000. Folks, you're living inside of a scripted reality. It's a movie, and you have directors and producers, just like we have a movie, directors and producers, but you can't see it. Controlling this reality. Okay? Good and evil. Think about what I'm showing you. Peace and evil end up linking right back to the 72. Remember what the 72 was? Hafnium, which is tied to radium. Radium means circle, radius. You live on a circle, the pie. The circle above is the zodiac wheel, the pie. I got this decode coming out. It's coming out, right? A little bit more in depth there. So we can tie chemistry to this as well. To do this new methodology, we have the good, the shalom, tied to oxygen. Yeah, well, it's the air that we breathe, so that's really important. And then the snake is tied to silicon, right? Nun is tied to silicon. Silicon is what sand. We're in the sands of time, right? Silicon, and Silicon Valley is the technology capital of the world, which can be the opposite of nature because technology is using metal and parts, and you're moving into stuff outside of the biological aspects of man. So now you get into the evil stuff. But clearly in the Bible it says God does both of these, not us. It's using mankind. This is tied to Lucifer right here. Lucifer being 28, tied to time, right? Through time you will sin. That's where you get evil from. That's where you get Satan from. Now when you reduce these down, you get Zayin from the 7. I can't remember the number 9. But there's that 7, and the 7 days of the week and 7 days of creation, including the day 7, which was the day of the holy day, right? 7 colors of the rainbow. This is all good, shalom, right? The 7th card in the cards of illumination, 7 of hearts. And this is where you get, this is God's remote control. This is spirit saying, I wonder what person I'm going to incarnate into. I wonder what I'm going to go be. What kind of character am I going to go play out on the world stage? You know, when you grab a remote control and you play out a video game, you're in control of that. You get to pick what character you want to be. Well, you think that's any different in our reality? Not what the code says. We live in a predestined, scripted reality. So this is essentially the beginning, and this is the end. And what happens at the end? You move into the 9. You know, the Ra becomes the 9. And the 9 is the repeater number. It's just going to repeat this, and repeat this, and repeat this. Because the end repeats the beginning. And they just merge into each other. Well, the 9 of hearts becomes the 9 of cups, which is card 45, and that's Pandora's box. Pandora's box. And you can't have one without the other. And notice they're both cups. I think I'll make a choice. I wonder what I'm going to do. And then once you start doing it, there becomes addictions. This is wish fulfillment. And maybe there is spirit down here that can't get out and it's trapped, but it loves playing the game and it's addicted to this game like we're addicted to things. All of you listening to this, you're addicted to things. It doesn't have to be bad addictions, but a lot of you are addicted to things you don't pay any attention to. We all are. And what's 7 plus 9? 79. That's gold. Remember what gold is? Pandora's box. This Shalom and Ra is Pandora's box. You are polarized when you are down here playing this game. Okay, that's what's going on. Going back to this, I'm almost finished with this. Going back to the peace and evil, becoming the 8 and the 14. When you add up 8 plus 14, you get 22, which is the total letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And that converts into the 9 of clubs, card 22. The word nature equals 22. The word organic equals 22. And that moves into the 9 of wands, the wounded warrior. So think about it. If there are watchers down here, angels and demons down here, and they can't leave, and they're trapped in this reality, and they have to play out the game, and they're forced to by commandment, and they're controlling people, controlling you and I. Well, it becomes a very old energy, which is why you get the wounded warrior here. This is a mental card. This is a mental card. But the combination of all, the 22nd letter, the 22nd element is titanium, right? So there's a huge amount of merit here doing this methodology. Is that titanium is the titans. This is tied to the titans. Okay? The titans of the earth. Okay? Which would be tied to the Nephilim and all those stories and the fallen angels and all that tied to titanium. But this is all about looking for love. This is the great red spot of Zeus. Great red spot is 48. What do you think's watching you, folks? Okay? And this letter, this 22nd letter is Taw. Right? The last letter. And you can see where it originated from. X marks the spot. Just got to start doing the the digging with all this kind of stuff. And the last slide I have here, ladies and gentlemen, to finish this RA88 decoded, is the tree of life and tree of knowledge, good and evil. Is there a difference? Is there a difference of this? I don't know. I say they're one and the same. You know, you do have the tree of life here. This is tree, and this is life. Okay, now, 46 is tied to Jesus Christos. Jesus Christos in Greek is 46. 4 is Jesus and Christos is 6. Or Jesus is 6 and Christos is 4. So you have the tree of life. And then you have the tree of knowledge, which is 1 digit more than the 46. And then when you bite the apple, you go down into a scripted reality, and it is part good and evil. And this is what we're in. We're in the bet. We're in the beta. You have good, 17, and you have evil, 42. Right? The tree of knowledge of good and evil. Angel is 17. 42 is lake of fire. Right? So you have good and evil here, ladies and gentlemen. And that's going to give you the number 59, which is the game of life. The game of life is right here. This tree of knowledge of good and evil, this is the game of life. But essentially, these two trees make up the 220. And when you do the same methodology as I did with the other screens, 220 divided by 22, right? 10 times. And the 10 is what? Yod. The smallest letter in the alphabet. The binary system. And what tarot card is the 10? The Wheel of Fortune. So what this is insinuating here is that the tree of life and the tree of knowledge are one and the same. And it's all about being polarized. You're either the tree of knowledge of good and evil, or you're the tree of life. You're either peace, you're either shalom or ra. But no matter what, these two put you on the wheel. And now you're playing out the game of life and spinning that wheel to determine your fate. And if you're a Patreon member, you would have watched my Yod He Vah He decoded, and you would have seen what that whole four-letter base, what that whole combination of letters is all about. And it's not what you think if you haven't seen the video. I promise you it would blow your mind if you see it, showing you what that whole means. But this is the binary system. And the tree of knowledge and tree of life, it represents the binary, the beta. That's why in the Genesis starts with the bet. It doesn't start with alpha. It starts with bear shit. Bet. Because you're in the binary, the beta. You're not in alpha. You're the beta. We're in beta, folks. We're in the tree of knowledge and the tree of life. We're inside of that. And it's good cop, bad cop. You don't want to play anymore? You can't be polarized. Neutrality and lukewarm is where it's at. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. RA88 complete. Would love to get your feedback on this. Again, just keep your comments cordial. You don't have to agree with everything, but would love to hear your feedback. I know there's a lot of things in here that maybe have opened your eyes to see how this code's playing out. And I stand by that lukewarm, folks. And I got more to come on that lukewarm decoded. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, keep your comments coming. I appreciate each and every one of you for all the support all these years. Big shout out to the Patreon members again. And that's all I got for today. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will see you next time.